Dylan, welcome.
Hello, hello.
How
How
you
are you?
doing? I'm fantastic.
I'm doing pretty well myself.
Good.
All
How's
right.
Canada? How's
Uh,
Canada?
Pretty clear skies. Can't complain.
Everybody all right up there in Canada?
As hard as we can be. Been
Good.
a rough couple last years, but we're all trying to recover.
Man, I tell you, I think everybody's so like over the Rona and ready to go forward, and it's great to see
Damn
people
straight.
out there touring again. And
Yeah, really though. It's really nice seeing this summer people are actually like there's shows going on like every week. It's really nice.
yeah, Coheed's out on tour, which I'm excited about. So I'm going to catch them here in Nashville.
Oh, nice. I'm going to a festival in a couple months in Toronto. It'll be really nice.
Yeah, awesome.
So today's topic is building your moat, protect, fortify, and expand your career.
Yeah,
So mostly just talking about how artists can really build protections around what they do and not suffer from the typical mistakes that usually happen.
yeah, I think that's a fair summary. I mean, we're going to take this medieval idea of a moat, and we're going to talk about how it works and how to apply it to your career and to begin to use it wherever you happen to be, whether you're a developing artist down here, a deploying artist in the middle, or a dominating artist at the top. It's like you want to have some protections. You want to protect the music in the middle of that castle, and we'll talk more about that today.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the idea. We're going to take the moat. We're going medieval today.
Nice, like it. And then we have a free masterclass we're offering. There will be a link in the description below for that, for anybody who's interested.
Yeah.
Also, we would love to know if anybody's watching live with a little hashtag live in the comments, or if you're watching the replay, a little hashtag replay. Would love to also get back to any questions you might have. So feel free to let us know down in the comments.
Yeah. Special thanks too to all the LinkedIn people.
Yeah,
Just in the last couple months, we've had like 1,000 new followers there, and it's so yeah, LinkedIn is hopping and popping.
yeah, it's definitely becoming a more relevant website. I like it a lot.
It is. There's less of the noise, less of the drama and hysterics
Mhm.
of Facebook. It seems to be a little bit more like serious,
Yeah, I like that a lot.
professionally minded, I guess you'd say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got a few questions here. Might as well start off with one.
Sure.
Do you have any advice on how artists might maintain their momentum once they've started gaining a little bit of notoriety?
Yeah. Actually, that's kind of the byproduct. The momentum is a byproduct of what we're going to talk about with the moats
Mhm.
today. So definitely that's where we're going here.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And let me pull this up here, Dylan. Sorry, all this technology stuff. Can you see that, Dylan?
Yes.
Look at those mugs. Oh my goodness.
Couple cool dudes.
Yeah. So and this, Dylan, there's a handful of slides, so we can kind of just talk through these and bat it around a bit.
Awesome.
And we've kind of discovered this after, 20 years of figuring out a lot of stuff. Is like these moats. It's easily missed because it's not directly, musical in nature. But it is, as we talk about platforms and content, this is kind of how we build a platform under your music. So
Hmm.
let's see here. So, like we talked about recently in the content versus platform, every artist battle. Here's a healthy artist. They've got a root system. There's nutrients getting there. There's support mechanisms there. And the content up top, the music you create and the experiences and the touring components of your career is supported, right? You're not gonna be this guy who, it's just music, and there's no support system there.
Mhm.
So the moat that we're talking about today is directly answers your question.
Wicked.
So yeah, I mean, I guess the history of this, if we go back to the Middle Ages, there were castles, right?
Mhm.
And castles castles had valuable stuff in them. You wanted to protect your castle, right?
Absolutely.
So you would build a moat around that castle to keep marauders, thieves, dragons. I don't know. There's obviously no dragons around anymore. I don't know if there ever were, but that's the idea of
Theoretically.
protecting the stuff inside it. You would have these big cannons that threw hot fire oil balls at people as they were trying to steal your stuff in the castle.
Mhm.
And oddly enough, that's kind of a very similar thing to building a career.
Right.
You want to strengthen the music inside. You want to protect that space. You want to make better music and touch your fans in new ways. And as your career grows, you're going to have marauders around you that want to kind of destroy what you're doing.
Yeah.
And as we think about gold, it's like for artists and entrepreneurs, this could be your show, this could be your catalog, this could be all the work you've done to get there, your skills, all that stuff. It's going to look different for different people. But this is what you want to protect, right? And it's inside the castle. And what we're going to talk about today is the periphery around how to protect this stuff. It may not be gold bullion like this, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you're new to the idea of moats, this is a good starting point. Like this here, this slice is what you're good at.
Okay.
Right. This is your music. This is your show. It's the stuff that makes your tail wag. It's the stuff that gets you up in the morning.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that keeps you up late at night. Right.
Yeah.
But as we think about moats, you can't just have this out in the Middle Ages because it would be pillaged. So there's no protection around this slice of a moat.
Mm-hmm.
It could be pillaged from all sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to be this guy that's just, focused on music alone. You got to build some protections to extend your career.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. If you're just focused on the art, it can, as soon as you gain notoriety, it can fizzle out pretty quickly because you're not actually building upon that. You're just focused on the music, and you can throw a really good song at the wall and it can have some success. But if you don't actually build upon that momentum,
right,
you're just throwing another one at the wall.
I mean, unless you're like a Prince or a Mozart, a baby of Prince and Mozart, you're probably not gonna, this isn't a strategy for you. Like don't want to just have hope as a strategy.
Yeah.
So let's talk about kind of how this works and some benefits of it. Like this is what we call a God view.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 50,000 foot view looking down on something. And this is part of the scaffolding of the hacking music group training that we do. There's strategy and there's execution, the tactical doing, the day-to-day boots on the ground. Strategy is kind of that 50,000 foot view, and execution is the dirty hands, boots on the ground doing the stuff. And for artists, their Achilles heel is that they're really good with the execution, the doing, the boots, the work of it. But they're really bad at pulling up to a higher altitude to see, hey, what's going on with my business here? Am I just golfing in the dark trying to get lucky? Or is there, a system that really helps strengthen what I'm doing? So this at a high level is one of the big benefits of building a moat. You're able to pull up to a high altitude and see all the stuff within your career. And then you're able to drop down to a boots on the ground level to do the actual work, which is really, really a game changer for artists, because then they're not bouncing into things. They're not imploding on the runway. There's what we call alignment,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're going in the same direction, the same time, with the same goals, with the same people.
Yeah, if you're on the ground the entire time, just plowing through, you can lose track of where you're going, and you can put in a lot of you can put in a lot of effort that might go wasted. Whereas if
Exactly.
you had that perspective, you would know exactly the path you have to run, and you
Yeah.
can blaze it.
Yeah. 1,000%. You're exactly right. It's like this allows you to pull up and get perspective and then drop back down. So it's different altitudes.
Mhm.
Um, so if we think about this, the competitive game or war, you have your defense and you have your offense.
Okay.
Your defense protects where you are now and what you have now, and allows you to get on offense.
Mhm.
Okay. So as we're thinking about moats, they're primarily defensive. They allow you to protect, fortify, and strengthen what you have, and then they allow you to think about your next moves. Right. So your offense can then go and score some points. They can do some new initiatives. They can do some new campaigns, new deals, new partnerships become possible because you've built your defense and your moat correctly and it's in place and doing what a moat should do. Uh,
Mhm.
I've heard it said like you put your oxygen mask on first before you can put other people's masks on, right?
Okay.
You don't
Yeah.
want to die. You don't want to die first. You need to kind of put your mask on first before you can help others. So it's the same thing with offense and defense. You get your
Mhm.
house in order, you get your moat in place, and then you can go think about, okay, how do we get aggressive? How do we get smart? And how do we think about the next 90 days, 120 days, well, whatever your strategic map is, the next year of your career. Um, so that's a way to think about this. This is defensive, primarily defensive, but it definitely allows you to get on offense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. If you're always on offense, it's almost similar to what we just said. If you're always on offense, it's almost going to be wasted. And whereas if you build
You're
up your defense, you can actually have an effective offense, and you can actually
yeah,
effectively put your efforts into your music and into the promotion of it, because you
yeah,
have all the other parts of your business working for you.
yeah. Well, I think last week, Dylan, you talked about rest
Yes.
and taking input mode and output mode, and this is the same thing. It's like when you have a moat in place, um, it allows you to rest. It allows you to weather some storms. Say if
Hmm.
there's a global pandemic, you have some protections around you. You have a moat that you don't become a statistic, right? Or you don't have to go work at Starbucks. That
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, let's and then some ways that moats strengthen you. Moats and the components within moats save us money. It makes you money. They extend your abilities. Moats add IQ points to what you're doing. Moats work for you 24 hours. The idea of rest, it having a moat in place, allows you to make money while you're sleeping.
Yeah. You don't always have to be focused on it. There's a system in place.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that in a gimmicky way, like a used car salesman, but literally, it's like our moats that we build for our companies and our artists. Make money every day and
Mhm.
monthly for our artists.
Of
Um,
course.
and then moats also fill gaps, some of our blind spots. So real benefits to allowing you to concentrate on your music, right?
Hmm.
So those are some ways that moats, properly in place and ordered, strengthen what you're doing.
Great.
Um, and then thinking about attributes for moats. Moats are repeatable. The components that we're going to talk about here in a minute, they're repeatable. Like
Hmm.
they happen every week or every month or however often you need them. It's a standing schedule, right?
Yeah.
Another attribute of a moat is that it fixes. There's a narrow fix that's fixing a very specific thing. Another attribute of the components within a moat, or the idea of avoidance, the stuff that we hate to do, you can kind of plug your gaps within your moat because you probably hate to do that thing,
Yeah.
right? And you're probably never going to be good at it, but you can plug it by looking at, hey, what do I hate to do? What am I avoiding?
Mhm.
That's
And-
definitely an attribute of
yeah.
of the gaps.
And because you're bad at it, that's why exactly you need to focus on trying to delegate it to
Yes.
be uh,
It needs to be taken
automated.
care of or automated or delegated.
Yeah.
It can't be ignored.
Yeah.
Right. And most artists, that first artist with the pink slice, they were avoiding all the stuff around them. Right.
Yeah.
So it allows you to kind of delegate that stuff out.
Awesome.
Another attribute is that it does actual work for you. When you fill a gap within your moat, it's doing real stuff.
Mhm.
Right. This isn't theoretical. This isn't, squishy stuff. This is like, hell, work got done here. Right. And then lastly, it focuses you. It frees you up to concentrate on the stuff that only you can do, whether that's touring, writing, producing, whatever that is. It frees you up. It opens up time to do that.
Getting that monkey off your shoulder is really underrated. It can be really, really helpful to not have that looming thought of, oh, I need to get this done. I need to get this done. I need to help my music by this and this. If you have that handled, then you can really just be free and focus on what
Yeah.
you're great at.
And I think psychologically, it really, you just like exhale. You go, ah,
Yeah.
yes, that's the mode is working, or that component of the mode is doing what it needs to do.
Mhm.
So these are some attributes. They're repeatable. They fix a narrow problem. They deal with the stuff that we hate and avoid. Does work for us. It focuses us and frees us up.
Awesome.
So where do you look first when you're finding your gaps? You want to look at a couple places. You want to look at the things you hate. That's probably a good place to start.
Probably the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can look at the things you're bad at.
Mm.
You can look at the things you're avoiding.
Mm.
Like if you just did this right here, your career gets momentum in an incredible way.
Yeah.
These are the obvious places. We're going to look at some not obvious places, but this is kind of where you want to look first.
Okay, great.
And then let's kind of pull up to 50,000 foot and look at the components of a moat. The first would be, the component could be your team. Who's in the boat? Who's in the boat with you?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Very
working.
important.
Very important. Your e-commerce. Pretty important. How you're doing deals. Are you doing deals? Are you avoiding all deals? A bad place to be. Your digital footprint and social media. That's a component of your moat.
Okay.
Streaming. How you touch your fans in a digital manner matters, right?
Oh yeah.
Back office, your accounting, your distribution, your fulfillment, all that stuff. Again, not sexy, but really important for pleasing your fans.
Mm-hmm.
Productizations, how you're thinking about your product offering. Do you have a product? Do you have 5 products? That's an important component of your moat. Or are you trying to, waiting for somebody to pick you and give you $10 million? Not going to happen. Another important component are who are your allies? Who can you go to once a year who are 10 years ahead of you, 5 years ahead of you? They like what you're doing. They're not in the boat with you, but they're your allies. They're your board of directors. They're your kind of brain trust. You want to, that's an important component.
Oh yeah. I feel like not enough people pay attention to that kind of thing, and they don't really realize that there's people out there who, want to talk, want to help you out, want to do this and that. Can't be afraid to approach them because,
Right.
you never know what can happen.
Absolutely. Good things happen face to face. And a lot of people, these people, your allies aren't in business with you, but they're rooting for you.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. Like they're pulling for you. And if you get stuck or you need to meet for coffee to talk about 3 questions, they're going to probably carve out some time to meet with you and help you because they want to see you win, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Sometimes advice can come from the strangest places, but when you need help, you got to ask for it.
yeah. And unfortunately, artists have an aversion to asking for help.
Yeah.
They feel uncomfortable, they feel needy, whatever.
Hmm.
Another component is just your launch strategy, how you're releasing your products, how you're launching your tour, how you're launching a new product.
Hmm.
That's an important thing.
Another one that's often very overlooked.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you notice here, there's not a lot of music around these 12. Like you
Yeah.
should be able to figure that out,
Yeah.
right? It's the idea of, you don't have to teach uh, baby birds how to sing. They're going to
Yeah.
figure out how to sing. They're going to figure out how to fly. It's just kind of innate. And it's the same with music. Like if you're passionate about music, you should be able to figure most of that out,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And in the hacking music training, we do go into super songs. We do go into your experiences. We do go into your show moments,
Hmm.
um, a little bit, but most of hacking music is about the supports mechanisms around an artist, not about how to play your instrument. You should
Yeah.
be able to figure that out.
There's only so much advice you can actually give to an artist on their own art,
If
especially
you
because you don't want to
if you
hear.
can't figure out your instrument and your music and why you're different,
Yeah.
that's
It's a bigger problem.
right, right, right. Another component is your touring and your show, how you stage an experience for your fans and followers and friends. And lastly, SaaS tools, automation tools that work for you 24/7. These are some of the components. There's others, but this is kind of a good starting place of thinking about the components in and around your moat.
Absolutely.
Any thoughts on that, Dylan?
Well,
And and again, this
it's
is
a
like
good.
50,000 foot God view. We're looking down on your career.
Exactly. That's why it's good. It can give you kind of piece by piece. You can look at all this and almost picture a moat around you as the artist. There's literally your moat. Each like a bunch of 12 things you can do to fortify your career that not a lot of artists are doing many of those at all.
Yeah, and really, the moats are all about resilience, right? It's the idea of robustness. You're not fragile. You're not going to break and implode because somebody said something mean about you. You actually have there's actually some muscle around what you're doing. There's some callus. There's some things that make you resilient.
Hmm.
It's about profitability. It's about longer careers. It's about having a creative space and being able to rest rather than having to be in output mode 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That's how you burn out.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, resiliency and robustness is a big part of this mode.
Hmm.
So yeah, like this is part of our mode. This is Shalu from India,
Okay.
and we work with her, and she does fantastic work on some of our e-commerce stuff.
Oh
So she's that people are part of modes, right? When we think about
yeah.
team and all that. So that's just kind of a actual face-to-face example of part of our modes.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, let's look at kind of baby artists, how they think about modes, and then we'll think about more mature artists as well here, and kind of have an idea here. So like day one, when you start your music career, this is how you're thinking. It's you and your music, right?
Yeah.
That's it. And as you grow, you release some recordings, you do some touring. Probably looks like this, maybe year 2-ish. Your
Mhm.
music's important, and your show's important, and your fans are important. And as we think about the three gears of an artist's career, there's developing artists, there's deploying artists, and there's dominating artists. This would be a developing artist.
Right.
They're doing shows. There's social media. There's production. There's writing. They're starting to think about how they're different. This is a developing artist. There's still a lot of gaps around their moat, and there's a lot of ways they can go down.
Mhm.
Some pillagers can come and take your castle, 5 different ways.
Oh yeah.
So this is a developing artist, the developing artist gear. And then the next gear is deploying artists. Okay. These artists are kind of in the middle of the triangle, and they've, thinking about product, e-commerce, shows, story, message, audience.
Hmm.
They've filled some of their gaps, but they're still, not resilient, not robust yet. They're still kind of fragile.
Yeah, they moved from being more focused on just the music to more focused
Yeah.
on their brand as a whole.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with where they are, but they're not here. They're not like at this total dangerous place where you're just music only, right?
Yeah, the first one, you can see they're starting to kind of branch out and try to learn more. And
Yeah.
then as it transitions into the middle of the pack,
Yeah.
right here, yeah, they are clearly trying to focus
Yeah.
less on just the songs themselves and build up a brand and an image for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the support mechanism. This is to your question of, how do you build momentum?
Mhm.
You start to pull up to 50,000 foot and look at your career as a moat.
Wicked.
And so, yeah, we have developing artists, we have deploying artists, and then lastly, our thoroughbred artists are dominating artists, right?
Yeah.
To where nobody's going to get in this castle, right? You've got your SaaS figured out. You've got your team figured out. You've got your systems. You've got your board and your brain trust around you. You've got productization dialed in. You've got ecom, legal, and doing deals. All, it's fortified here.
Mhm.
So this is what, a dominating, an artist at the dominating tier kind of looks like.
Yeah, just covering all your bases.
Yeah. And here's an example of an actual moat for us. There's e-commerce, there's email systems, there's writing Monday through Wednesday. It's a schedule where it's locked in and committed to.
Nice.
There's an email system to where, okay, when somebody buys a product, it automatically sends them a thank you note and a video, and they feel loved on, right? And
That's
we're
underrated.
we're not nobody's actually hitting send on that email. That's just automated and part of the system.
Mhm.
Virtual assistants, is it a video person? Is it a e-commerce person who you hire to bring in on specific projects? Habit stacks, really important, and we may do a whole episode on that sometime.
Awesome.
Collaboration tools. If somebody's in India, how do you work with them in a way that's smart? Hard drive backups. That's, again, super boring, not musical, but you better be, back in the 90s, we burned up a hard drive that had like $10,000 worth of a record on it.
Oh yeah.
That's an expensive mistake.
Yeah, almost every artist I hear in interviews has a story of that one hard drive that has
Yeah.
500 songs that failed, and I'll give you $10,000 if you can somehow get the files back, man.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
And nowadays there's just tools, there's Dropbox, there's a lot of stuff that fixes that. There's no reason why you should lose your files, right?
exactly. Yeah,
Fulfillment's a big deal. Like when someone buys a product, getting it shipped to them, delivered to them. Again, not sexy, not fun, but you better make damn sure the people that love you and care about you as a fan, we're treating them well. We're giving them, we're over delivering to them. We're giving them positive touch points that thrill them.
if somebody like wants to reach into their pocket and give you their money, they want to feel appreciated for that. They want to see that message of like, oh, thank you for reaching out, or just those little things like that can go a long way for making the consumer want to come back and actually keep supporting.
Yeah. And a lot of times artists make it really hard for that to happen. Like here's our job is to, I call it the Happy Meal model. We want to make it so damn easy to order a Happy Meal that they order 3 Happy Meals.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
We don't want to make it hard. We don't want to go, oh, I want chicken fry and Coke. Forget that. We just want to bucket them, bundle our products to where it's just like effortless, frictionless. And Amazon and McDonald's have figured that out, and we can steal a lot from the way Amazon thinks about their customers and the way McDonald's thinks about their customers.
Absolutely.
So yeah, this is an example of real time moat that we one of ours internally. And this, I will say this too, Dylan, is like we do this on sticky notes.
Yes.
This graphic here is just to kind of show you visually so we can talk about it. But what's really powerful is, getting a room in your office or in a closet, clearing out a wall and just putting sticky notes. Building your moat with sticky notes allows you to move things around and see where your gaps are in a really tangible, tactical way. Grabbing that sticky note, something happens in your head and in the world that when you grab a sticky note, you're like, oh man, I get this. It's not just a digital ether. It's a real thing. Like that virtual assistant is a real part of your moat. It's the face of Shalou. You're seeing her on here. It's not theory. It's not hypothetical. We're not doing this just to feel smart. We're doing this to change the world, and to move a career forward.
Yeah, it can be really helpful to actually contextualize it, get it out in front of you, so it's not just thinking of stuff in your head and getting crisscrossed and forgetting this and that. Plan it out so you can see it actually physically. You can take an idea into your hand, and if you don't like it, you'll rip it up, write a new idea.
Totally.
Build your moat.
And I would say too, Dylan, something that's really important to think about for this, you want to think like a crock pot. This is super slow. This isn't something you get done and you move on from. This is something that's always on your wall, right? And it always gets better and stronger and more clear. We've been doing this for years, and it's the slower you go, the better it gets.
Yeah, everybody always knows that if you're a one-hit wonder, or the quicker you rise to fame, the quicker your fall can be. So the converse is true. The longer you spend trying to build your career, the more powerful and longevity you can have.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, a big part of hacking music is actionality. What's actionable? How do you do this? How do you get this under you? So let's spend a few minutes talking about, how to start your moat.
Awesome.
Right. Okay. So here's kind of a blank moat, right? Your music's on here. Let's just do this. Here's what you're best at. Up at number 1. This is your music. And even as we talked about widgetizing your music, it's like, let's constrain it here and contain it. Like all your music is in this bucket number 1. It's your writing, it's your production, maybe your touring is all there.
Okay.
Now you want to think about, okay, how do I support that? How do I strengthen number 1? How do I sell that number 1? So you want to do this with you and your team if you have one, and just start to put some sticky notes on here. Say, okay, well, let's try this as far as co-ventures with a person. What do I hate? What am I avoiding? Those kind of things we talked about earlier. But you want to take 30 minutes to 2 hours and just take a version 1 of this. Pull out your stickies and just start to populate this. So this is a tool that we do with all our artists, all our companies. And it's super helpful in making sure you're not, that tree that fell over at the beginning that we talked about. It helps you support your music and strengthen your music and really build a career. And I will say too, Dylan, that you want to go slow with this. The first time you do this, you're just blowing out the dust.
Yeah.
Right.
Just getting a feel for it.
And then you do it again. You come back to it next week and you start mining in the dirt, right? Okay. You get your hands dirty. You're thinking through this slowly. You're getting better. You're getting down to the good stuff here in a minute. And then
Mhm.
the next week, next month, next quarter, as you come back, you start to get down to the diamond. You're like, oh hell, this is really the gap that we need to fix.
Mhm.
So you want to take your time in building your moats. You want to
Yeah.
bring people around you, your team, your allies who can say, hey, yeah, I think you're right on this, or no, you're totally forgetting this. And go as slow as you can, because the diamonds down here, you got to blow the dust off first. You got to get through the dirt to really get to the diamonds for your moat. It takes a little time, right?
Yeah, if you rush to throw a team together or you rush to throw anything together, it's probably not going to be done the right way, and it's almost going to hurt you more than it'll help you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about going fast on this.
No.
It's really about taking your time and really giving your brain time to process this, because this is a big problem we're solving here, and it doesn't get solved in a week, right?
No. Yeah.
You take a version 1, good. You come back in 2 weeks, you do a version 2. You're like, oh, I didn't think about this. What if we did this over here?
Yeah.
Version 3 gets a little better,
It's
and
it, it's likely that you already have an image of this in your head as an artist, but
yeah.
just contextualizing it and getting it out in front of you can do a lot for helping you think through it, instead of just being like, oh yeah, I know I have that one thing I need to do, but I'll do it eventually. If you have it actually staring at you every day and you have to read it every day and be like, oh yeah, I know I have to do that,
Yeah.
it can help
And
you think more.
that's a big deal. There's a thing we talk about called healthy embarrassment. So when you
Yeah.
see this on your wall, say you put it up in your, I don't know, your closet, right?
Yeah.
You see it on your wall and you walk past it every day.
Yeah.
Some really interesting things start to happen. You start to dream about it at night, and it's called theta stage.
Mhm.
And your subconscious actually goes to work on it on your behalf while you're going to sleep and while you're waking up. There's a place called theta.
Mhm.
Edison kind of discovered this back in whenever,
Mhm.
early 1900s.
Yeah.
And he used it to solve problems. And that's kind of what happens here when you're embarrassed by it. You see it on your wall. You're like, oh man, I haven't thought about my moat for a week or two.
Mhm.
Man, I tell you, that email newsletter thing still sucks, or it's not solved, right? And you get embarrassed because you haven't fixed it, and B, your subconscious kind of starts thinking about it, and what happens is it goes to work for you while you're sleeping, and oftentimes it brings you an idea that you would have never thought of. So yeah,
Mhm.
that healthy embarrassment is really, it's a good thing. it's it's
Absolutely.
it's so yeah, those that's kind of a quick run through of moats, and we go much deeper in the training groups and
Mhm.
really do this for our artists, because a lot of times artists are so close to it, right? They can't see the forest for the trees. So
Yeah.
when we do this as a group, um, we're really able to offer some friendly fire and to shoot some holes in their version 1 and go, hey, you know what? I think you're totally missing this over here.
Mhm.
Think, you
Yeah.
need to be thinking about this, because you're really strong in XYZ, but you're really blind in the other stuff.
Yeah, and that's like the whole point of this entire
Yeah.
concept, is to look at what you're not good at. And so when you bring
Yeah.
other people into that, it's almost always going to be better, because there's going to be people who are good at what you're not good at.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of a quick run through of moats and building some muscle around what you're doing and using some tools to get above it strategically.
Right. No, I really enjoyed that. It was a lot of information.
Good, good.
So I guess we can remind people that we have a masterclass offered this week. Link in the description below if you want to learn more
Mhm.
about that. Feel free to leave any comments that you have. We would love to answer and hear your thoughts. Comment hashtag live or hashtag replay if you're watching right now, or if you're watching later.
Yeah. And as you have any questions, put them in the comments below. And if we don't get them real time, maybe next week we'll come back and field some of those.
Absolutely.
Awesome, Dylan. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Talk to you soon.
Cheers.